Well, it's now time we go straight to the papers. And for review today, we have 5 papers. We have The Punch, The Vanguard, The Nation, These Day, and The Guardian. But you do know we always enjoy starting first with The Punch. Let's see if The Punch has its usual puncher on the front page. And on The Punch this morning, well, seems to be a reflection on what seems to be happening at the moment, and one that is getting a whole lot of Nigerians truly concerned. Anyways, NLC mobilized workers for strike against refinery. We're talking about Dangote vs. Pegasin issue. And the riders to that said, well, a lot of riders, a few do, Labour plans affiliates as Pegasin shuts down NMPC and NUPRC and also NMDPRA officers. And well, anyway, that's Labour places affiliates on alert as Pegasin shuts down all their different affiliates. Well, that's the screamer on the front page of The Punch, and one I will implore you to continue to read on definitely page 14 of, 33 of The Punch newspaper. Now, let's see if we take some other leading stories also on the topmost side of The Punch. Church members avoid me over Muslim ticket. It's not President Tinubu that is saying that, but rather First Lady Remi Tinubu is saying that on page 40. 2027, woeful record will haunt Jonathan, says presidency. Well, it looks as if the firework has already started with every intention of former President Goodluck Jonathan to come into the race for 2027. No surprise, the presidency is already firing the first shot. Nigerian 65, federal government cancels Independence Day parade. And many will say, why would we not parade? Anyway, page 2 has all that story. NNPC, Dangote Refinery signed fresh 2-year crude deal is also a major screamer on page 34 of The Punch newspaper. Let's see if we take some other leading stories just beneath the picture of the day. And tax reforms exempt food, education, agri. Federal Inland Revenue Service seems to be saying so. And you can get more on page 34. Lagos guard faces trial for kidnapping employer's son. Page 4 and 5 has that very funny but yet disturbing story. Court stops bank from releasing Osun local government allocation is a major one on page 41. That means the fireworks still continues. And the picture of the day is that of the Zamfara State Governor, Daud Lawan, and His Excellency, the Vice President of the country, Kashim Shettima. And that happened yesterday during the visit to Zamfara State by the Vice President himself. That's much you can take from The Punch.
All right, let's see headlines that made it to The Nation. 2027, Jonathan, no match for Tinubu. Well, the writer says presidency cautions ex-presidents against cheerleaders. He said he's only one of the options, says PDP. Well, you can read more of that on page 2 of the paper. Let's see what we have at the top mass. 65th anniversary. Let us continue to believe in Nigeria. Well, that story is on page 4 of the paper. Don't cut supply to Dangote Refinery. Court orders Pegasin. Well, that's on page 3. At Tinubu, governors, APC chiefs in Imo for Uzodima's book. Well, that story is on page 2 of The Nation. UK diplomat fought genocide reports on Nigerian Christians. That story is on page 3 of The Nation newspaper. Let's see what we have at the side mass. AGF opens probe into Ozekome versus Hussaini British property judgment. Well, that big story is on page 29 of the paper. Osun councils get 6 months withheld allocation. You can read more of that story on page 29 of the paper. I think that's all we have on The Nation. Let's see what we have as the picture of the day. Okay, this is a congratulatory message and a political tribute to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Nigeria's 65th independence anniversary. You can see Nigeria at 65. Tinubu is a gift in time. And who is saying that? Senator for Zamfara West. Well, congratulations to Nigeria. Well, that's all we're taking this morning on The Nation. Let's see what this day has for us today. The major story, presidency. Jonathan free to run in 2027. And Nigerians won't forget Iran economy aground. The writer says ex-leader engaged in frivolous spending puts country in their straits. Well, you can read more of that on page 27 of the paper. Still at the top mass, Arise News anchor Somto Chukwu Maduagu 29 dies in Abuja robbery. Well, there's a very sad story, and it's on page 9 of the paper. Let's see what we have at the bottom, should we say bottom, just at the top of the picture of the day. Tinubu considers Amupitan to succeed Mahmoud Yakubu as new INEC chairman. Well, that's on page 10 of the paper. The court restrains Pakistan NNPC orders from cutting oil gas supply to Dangote refinery. That's on page 29. Each of the day is that of the congratulatory message to Tinubu and Nigeria as a whole at the 65th independence anniversary. Well, that's all we take in this morning on this day. Let's see what the Guardian has for us. The lead story says gas users groan as Pakistan strike crashes power generation and exports. That's on page 6 of the paper. Right at the top mass, North gets bulk of 330 billion social support, says Tinubu. Well, that's on page 3 of the paper. Federal government cancels independence parade, insists Nigeria still work in progress. Well, I believe Nigeria is still a work in progress. That's on page 3 of the paper. A federal government denies releasing Osun local government allocation as court stops disbursement. That's on page 5 of the paper. Let's see what we have at the side mass. Borno overtakes Osun as voter registration hits 6.2 million. Well, that's on page 30 of the paper. Bandits sack thousands in Katsina as Huriwa faults peace deals. Well, that's on page 30 of the paper. Yes, at the bottom mass, ASU issues federal government 14-day ultimatum over a 7-point demand. That's on page 7. A court declares Pat Utomi's shadow government unlawful. That's on page 4. A debate over ethnicity competence deepens as INEC succession battle begins. That's on page 6 of the paper. Our picture of the day, that's still talking about the Pengasam versus Dangote refinery. So it's still a lot, and we hope that this is resolved as soon as possible. Well, that's all we're taking this morning on The Guardian. Up next is The Vanguard.
Well, The Vanguard is indeed the next paper for us to quickly look at, and funny enough, it's also the last paper for us to review on. And on The Vanguard this morning, a major leading story is court stops Pegasus orders from cutting gas supply to Dangote refinery. And the writer to that says, we are not aware of any court order, says Pegasus, and barricades NNPC towers and also NUPC RC as strike begins. But I'll just tell you to really start reading that story up on page 5. Presidency to Jonathan, Nigerians will forget your dismal record in office. And well, anyway, page 40 has more of that story. Still talking about it, 2027 presidency, no automatic ticket for Jonathan in PDP. Benga Hassan group seems to be screaming out that loud on page 14. Tinubu governors APC bigwigs order storm Imo today to unveil Uzodima's book. Is a one I feel you need to book and read more of that story up on page 11 of The Vanguard. And well, anyway, that's the major one. But the picture of the day is that of Nigerian 65, just like others. Tinubu is a gift in time. This according to former governor of Zamfara State and also a now senator representing the west part of Zamfara. We're talking about Abdul Aziz Yari. And well, he's sending that message to President Tinubu and also non-Nigerians as we celebrate our 65th independent anniversary come tomorrow. But anyway, we're still right here today, and we're still looking at all that seems to be on the front pages of the dailies. Like I will always implore you If you see some of the major ones that you feel will make more of a reading point for you, well, just oblige yourself that and go get a copy of the papers and read that all up.